Shalom Aleichem, World Mizrahi. We want to really, first of all, thank World Mizrahi for taking care of the Jewish people, for really going out of their way on a daily basis to find ways to expand the Torah everywhere from everyone, and really fill in the voids that we've received. So before we begin our shir, connecting to the concept of Gava and Chametz, we want to just start off, Be'ezrat Hashem, with Mishaberach Lacholim, and then just a parak of Tehillim that all of us can say together, Be'ezrat Hashem, and from there we'll go into the shir. So we'll start with Mishaberach Lacholim. Mishaberach Avotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, David u'Shlomo, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel v'Leah, Hu yivarech v'yirapeh et hacholim, בעבור שכל הקהל הקדוש הזה מתפלל בעבורם להחלימם ולרפאותם ולהחזיקם ולהחיותם, וישלח להם מהרה רפואה שלמה מן השמיים לרמח אבריהם ושסה גידיהם בתוך שאר חולי ישראל, רפואת הנפש ורפואת הגוף, השתה בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ונאמר אמן. Bezrat Hashem, will just add also parak of Tehillim, say the pasuk, and then we could answer back. Shir Hamalot Mima Makim Kiraticha Adonai Adonai Shim'a Bekoli Tiyena oznecha kashuvot lekol tachanunai im avonot tishmor ya Adonai miyamon ki Imcha haslicha leman tivarei kiviti Adonai kivta nafshi v'lidvaro hochalti נפשי לאדוני משומרים לבוקר שומרים לבוקר יחל ישראל אל אדוני Kim Adonai HaChesed Ve'arbei mo pedut Ve'ho Yivdeh et Yisrael Mikol Avonotav. Bezrat Hashem, the Tfilah Refuat HaCholim and the Tehillim should strengthen all the people that are sick, should strengthen all of our spirits to be able to be Makabel again, another beautiful Shabbat with our families. And although there are so many things that we can't do, to be able to recognize what we can do. So we just want to start with the Niggin for the Shir. So if you know the Niggin, you could join in. If you don't know the Niggin, you could, I guess, just listen for a few seconds. So the Niggin is Nachamu Ami. Nachamu, Nachamu Ani Yom Elokechem Nachamu Nachamu Yom Elokechem Nachamu Nachamu Yom Elokechem Nachamu Nachamu Yom Elokechem. So we know the famous words Nachamu Nachamu Ami, and the question that many of the Hasidic masters ask is, why do we say Nachamu twice? Why can't we just say Nachamu once? It would be enough. There's either Nacham or not Nachamu. So one of the most beautiful answers that I heard, I don't remember in the name of who, that the greatest nechama is sometimes to know that even if there isn't nechama, that we don't give up on the chance for nechama. Which means we say Nachamu Nachamu because although maybe we don't see it, we might want to give up on it. And what we're asking when we're singing Nachamu Nachamu is that even if we don't see the Nachamu, that we don't give up on the option for Nachamu. And I was speaking to one of my students, and he was saying, I can't deal with all the boredom and all the nothingness. And one of the things I said to him was something in the name of Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister. He said that we're preparing not only for the disease, but for the day after. That so many of us right now are thinking about how to use puzzle pieces and Sudoku and books and Pesach cleaning, obviously. And we're trying to use all these things to get through the disease. But the idea of Nachamu Nachamu is that we're not only supposed to get through the disease, we have to not give up hope that there's going to be the day after. There's going to be another time when shuls are going to open, and schools, and businesses, and yeshivas, and the kotel. And they're going to open. And maybe that's our biggest tefillah, just to start off the shir, that the shir should give us the ability and the strength that although there are so many things we need to deal with because of the new situation, all the economical fears, the health fears, the people we're davening for, that at the same time we're also able to think about the day after, to not let go of it, and to have the nechama that there will be a nechama. So Be'ezrat Hashem, we're going to start the shir. Our shir title was the Midah of Gava and Chametz. So what we want to try and develop is really through Rav Kook, that we'll get to later in the shir, to really try and fully understand what is Gava all about. But the first question that I think we need to ask ourselves is, Yair, why now? Baruch Hashem, when you got the privilege to give this shir, you could have chosen, any shir you wanted to give. Why specifically did you choose to give over this concept of Gava? And obviously I might have been mistaken, but my reasoning for thinking that this is something that is worthwhile is specifically because of the link that we make between Chametz and Gava. We know what Chametz is, and we know what matzah is. But what we forget sometimes is what they symbolize. And one of the main symbolisms that we always associate with chametz and matzah is that chametz is very much linked to the midah of gava, and that matzah is linked to the midah of anava. And it's a beautiful elaboration, but at the same time, it also demands of us to really analyze, what is this link? Why are they linking between chametz and gava? And so I think that there's a very, very unique secret behind this link that we can really try and understand on a deep level. So when we link chametz to gava and matzah to anava, let's take a minute to look at chametz and matzah. There's an amazing thing to realize, that there's a mitzvah deoraita to eat matzah. There's a machlokot about the kavana. Do you have to have kavana for the mitzvah, not for the mitzvah? But the matzah is the epicenter of Pesach. Any of us that draw a picture that's trying to link to Pesach will draw a matzah. Matzah is the symbolism of Pesach. It reminds us of redemption. It gives us the experiences of freedom, of the fact that the hope didn't end, that after 210 years of slavery, we get to leave. And so the matzah is an incredible symbol of something exciting and beautiful. Whereas the chametz is the most revolting, disgusting thing that you could think of on Pesach. It reaches a level that my kids always get a little bit upset at me, that at Bdikal chametz, we do this imaginary spitting on the chametz, right? We find the chametz and go, "Pooh!" And, Adiel gets a little scared. He's like, "Abba, it's just a piece of bread." But all of us know that it's not just a piece of bread. We know that it's the antithesis of the matzah. We know that it's the exact opposite. We know that whereas the matzah is symbolizing a mitzvah, the chametz is symbolizing karet. Karet. That a person can be annihilated from the Jewish story because he ate chametz. And not only is this a concept, but where else do we have an idea where there's not only bal yira'eh, but bal yimatzeh? Fine, you can't see it, because we're nervous. Maybe if you see it, you'll eat it. But bal yimatzeh, that it can't even be in your possession, that it can't be anywhere near you. It's so the worst thing you could imagine. And it's not even batel b'mashu. If anyone learned halacha, and we've learned about bitul, we know that there's an idea of bitul b'shishim. We know there's an idea of bitul b'mea, b'matayim, b'elef. But the chametz is lo batel b'mashu. A crumb of chametz is destruction. So these are like the two exact opposites. The matzah reminding us of redemption, and the chametz reminding us of what so-called is the opposite. But what is the opposite? And then we'll get to that. But here's where the problem starts. Although conceptually, the matzah and the chametz are so different, they're so similar. The ingredients that make matzah are water and flour. The ingredients that make chametz are flour and water. And so if I wanted to give you an example of things that were so different from each other, I would say this is yellow and this is green. That's different. I wouldn't try to symbolize two things that are so similar and say that are so similar and say, no, but they're opposites. Not only is the ingredients the same, but let's play a game. If any of you have a paper next to you, write down the word matzah and write down the word chametz. And if you look at that, you play a game of connect the letters The mem and the tzadi are identical in both the words. And the only letter that differentiates the chametz and the matzah is a hey. And so the difference between the chametz and the matzah is one letter. Not only is it one letter, but the difference between a hey and a chet is a little line. So we're trying to give you an experience of two opposites, two worlds, but they're the same ingredients. Not only are they the same ingredients, but they're also the almost exact same letters. And the timing is 1 second difference. 18 minutes is matzah. 18 minutes and 1 second of growing, chametz. Really? That's how you want to differentiate these two things, 1 second? You couldn't think of a lengthier time, that this one is 8 minutes and this one is 18? Really, 1 second? And so we're looking at the word, the linguistic relationship between chametz and matzah. We're looking at the ingredients, which are identical. And we're looking at the timing, which is almost identical. And so we look at the matzah and it's a mitzvah. And we look at the chametz and it's kari. And the two things, although they're so differently, conceptually, practically, they're almost identical. And so one of the things that we have to try and understand is what is the reason that chametz and matzah need to be so similar. And we'll get to that in a second. But before we get to the reason for why chametz and matzah need to be so similar, I want to go to another place in the Haggadah that we find a very, very similar concept of two opposites that are almost the same. And all of you could try and think what we're talking about. The answer is that we're relating to what's called the Rasha and the Chacham. They're supposed to be the total opposites of what children will look like. If any of you look in your Haggadah, you look at the pictures, you'll see a guy with like a long, long, long white beard. I don't know if that's a ben, but that's what you'll see. With incredible strymel, like a white strymel, a white kittel, sitting there, amazing white peyot, beautiful, angelic, chacham. You look at the Rasha, you'll see tattoos everywhere, you'll see piercings, so different. Really? Are they really that different? Because when you open up the Sefer Torah, I'll just read it from inside, the pasuk that the Chacham says, the question in the Psukim, the Chacham says like this: Ma ha'edot ve'hachukim ve'hamishpatim. What are the laws, the rules, the details? Asher tziva Hashem Elokeinu etchem. That our God commanded you. Etchem. What's the question of the Rasha? The Rasha says, Ma ha'avodah hazot lachem. True, there are differences. The Rasha speaks about the avodah versus the Chacham who speaks about the mishpatim, chukim, and mitzvah. And mishpatim. And edu. Sorry. So yes, they're not exactly identical. But why do we get so mad at the Rasha? The Baal Haggadah says, he says, lachem velo lo. You are going to rip that child apart. You're going to knock his teeth out. You're going to destroy him. You're going to get so angry with him. You're going to yell at him. You're going to scream at him because he said the disgusting word of lachem. How dare you? How dare you say lachem? But the Chacham says etchem. The Chacham says the same word. Commanded you. And so, although they seem to be so different, they're so similar. And it's not a mistake that the Torah makes such a link between their wordings. And they could have got such a different way of them presenting themselves. The Rasha is this extreme, the Chacham is that extreme, but that's not what they do. They give us a very similar presentation of two opposites. And if we look at the Chacham and the Rasha, we're going to see that really their names also present something very similar. So if you take the Chacham, which comes from the word Chochma, so we know that the Baalei Kabbalah, they divide the word Chochma into two words. That Chochma is Koach Ma, the strength of saying Ma, the strength of a question, the strength of the unknown, the strength of realizing that there are things that we don't know. That is the essence of Chochmah. This excitement and this feeling of awe, of there's a Ma, there's the strength of Ma. So the Ma is that there's endless potential, and that's the greatest strength. If you look at the Rasha, it's a Hasidic idea. But if you divide the name of the Rasha into two, you'll see that the outer letters spell Ra, because it's Reish Shin Ayin. So the outer letters spell Reish Ayin Ra. And the inner letter is a Shin. And the Shin, if you look at it, it has three heads. So what is the idea of three heads? So the link that Rav Kook explains is that they resemble Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And they explain what does it mean, Aked Shinav, help him figure out the Shin. Help him learn about his Shin that was inside. That outside he's Ra and inside he's a Shin. But both of them have this idea of Ein Sof. They both. The Chochmah is the strength of Ma. The Ma is like this feeling of like endless. And same to the Rasha inside has something endless. He's at the Seder. He's a Jewish person. He's with us. He's there. He's a Shin. But what's the difference? The difference is the outer cover. The Chochmah is that they use the strength to go and use their potential. They want to use the Ma. The Rasha wants to cover the Shin. He wants to cover the potential. And I think that now, just to put everything together for a second, we saw that Pesach is very much connected to Gava because of the concept of Chametz. And so when we look at this link, we haven't yet understood why, but we first of all went to look at Matzah and Chametz. And we saw that when we looked at Matzah and Chametz, although conceptually they're so opposite, practically they're so similar. We said same too with the Rasha and the Chacham. Right? Conceptually, these are like the two parallel opposites of like what you could imagine of the great kid and the bad kid. But in the wording, there's a lot of connections between them and a lot of links between them. And so really, what is the reason that things that are so different are so similar? And I think that there's a very big secret here. The incredible secret is that we usually think that change is external. Is that the more degrees we have, the more successful we are. The more people that admire someone, the more successful, the greater the person is. We're very much accustomed to view external as the definition. Comes Pesach and says to us, calm down. The differences for the Jewish people are not in what you're going to see. You could have a person that walked into, for example, to a yeshiva. Walked in as an 18-year-old, left as a 19-year-old, wore the same blue kippah on the first and the last day, wore the same green shirt on the first and the last day, wore the same jeans, left with the same jeans. Nothing changed. And so people will say, listen, you didn't really accomplish that much. You didn't learn that much. You didn't change. You didn't develop. But that's exactly what Pesach is saying. That the concept of Pesach is that change is not in the external. It's the same ingredients. Matzah and chametz. If you look at a shop that's making matzah, everyone's going to get all nervous. Like, oh my God, it's chametz, it's flour. They're so similar externally. But there's an internal difference that is the eternal message of the Jewish people. That Pesach, we're locked in our homes. We get locked in our homes. And the reason Hashem locks us in our homes is because he wants us to realize that the message of Am Yisrael is that change is within. Change is not what you show. It's not what you present. It's not even what you say. It's what you feel. Two people could go to the kotel. One could daven and the other could daven. One is a total person that has zero connection, and one is speaking directly to Hashem. But it's the same object. But that's exactly the message of Am Yisrael. That the subject defines the object. That people are the ones that define the world. The world is external. But man is God, and God is the internal message of the world. And you are the paradigm, you are the message, you are the link, you are the vision of what it means to look at Hashem and believe in Hashem. And what it means is that you realize the external needs the internal. The world needs man, not that the man needs the world. And therefore, matzah and chametz need to be so similar. Because the change will not be because these things are different externally. It's because of an internal difference that makes the whole world difference between these two things. And the same thing with the Rasha and the Chacham. They both have potential. They both have ma, they both have the shin, they both have it. What's the difference? One of them uses it to close themselves, and one of them uses it to open themselves. What's the difference between a Chacham and a Rasha? The Rasha asks his question in Egypt. The Rasha appears in Sefer Shmot. At the moment of inspiration, he's like, lachem, cynicism. And where does the Chacham appear? In Sefer Dvarim, right before we go into Eretz Yisrael. He's not cynical, he's searching. It's the same lachem and etchem, but one of them is in order to close the door. He's standing there at Yetziat Mitzrayim and he's saying the word lachem. It's not about the word you said, it's about when you said it. It's about where you said it. When the Rasha is saying lachem, it's inside Egypt. It's in Shmot, Perek Yud Bet. Just remember the Pasuk Kavav. Shmot Yud Bet Kavav. At the moment of Yetziat Mitzrayim. So he's saying the same words maybe, but where he's saying it is defining his character. He's cynical. And the Chacham is so different, not because of what he said, because of when he said it. And where he said it. He didn't say it in Egypt. He said it 40 years later, when he was searching and yearning. Etchem, I want to be part of it, but I'm not. I'm asking because I'm interested. One of the most interesting things you could hear when you hear questions from people is that a lot of times the questions are with an exclamation mark. They ask a question, but it's not a question that they're really interested in. They're asking it in order to run away. They'll ask you, where is Hashem in the world? But you know that you shouldn't be answering the question because they don't really want an answer. They want a way out. They're using their question to run away. And a person could say the same question, where is Hashem? And you'll see in their eyes and in their character that it's a different question. You'll see the development of a child through the questions they ask. You'll see a development of a world through the questions they're asking. You'll see a development of a person, of a relationship, through the questions they ask each other. And so what we realize from the opening is that although we might have thought that Gava and Anava are like these so different, that Gava is a person that's walking around and full of himself and he's all like talking about himself all day and praising himself. And the Anav is like, please, I don't really know anything. So they're like so different. No. Teaches us the chametz and the matzah that the difference between Anava and Gava is not in the external. It's not in what they say. It's not in their presentations. And the reality is that you won't even know. You might look at someone and think they're Gava, but you don't know, because the idea of Anava and Gava is that it's an internal and not an external. Is that the idea, again, of chametz and matzah is that externally they're the same ingredients and same letters. But internally, one realizes the power of a second and one doesn't. Externally, the Rasha and the Chacham are saying the same question, but one is saying it cynically and one is saying it out of a yearning. So they're very different. And so with that, we want to go into our second part of our shir, which is, if this is the reality, that chametz and matzah are symbolizing Gava and Anava, then what is Gava and Anava? And so in order to understand Gava and Anava, I want to present two sentences of Rav Kook, one about Gava and one about Anava. And through the presentation of these two sentences, I think we can learn more about really why matzah and chametz are symbolizing Anava and Gava. So the sentence, the sentence in Rav Kook is 3 words. In 3 words, Rav Kook says something, I think, very transformative about Gava. Rav Kook says, Hage'ava misavevet atzlut. That the Gava is the cause of laziness. So that's the sentence on Gava, and in a second we'll develop it. The sentence that he says about Anava is like this: Hineni hu leshon anava v'zrizut. The word hineni that we find a couple of times in the Torah, with Avram Avinu, we find it with Esav, we find it with Moshe Rabbeinu, we find it with Yaakov. They say the word hineni. Says Rav Kook that hineni, this is based on Rashi, hu leshon anava v'zrizut. That if you really want to understand anava, you need to understand the word hineni. So let's first try to understand Gava. Says Rav Kook something very mind-boggling. Hage'ava misavevet atzlut. That Gava causes laziness. And so at the start, when we look at something like this, we say to ourselves, what's the link? Why are you linking between Gava and laziness? Where does that come from? And so I think really that Rav Kook, when he's connecting Gava to laziness, we have to really understand what is Gava. For most of us, the way we think about Gava is that it's in comparison to other people. That someone who has Gava says, I'm better than him because I have this and they don't have this. It's where someone says, I'm better than him, or they walk around and they think that they know everything and they're always right and they're never willing to accept the fact that they're wrong, and if anyone rebukes them, then they're at fault and then they don't care. But how does that have anything to do with laziness? And so I think that Rav Kook is hiding a secret here, which is that Gava has nothing to do with other people. That we grow up thinking that Gava is the way we perceive ourselves in the face of others, or the way that we look at ourselves in comparison to others. But laziness is something that you experience. It's something that you get faulted for, and that you get hurt by, and it's something that's very, very personal. And so I think that Rav Kook does not believe that Gava is something that's in comparison to another, rather a mindset. What's the mindset of Gava that could cause laziness? So Rav Kook teaches that Gava is a mindset of how do I perceive the world. We know that there's me and there's the world. When someone has Ge'ava, it's a very, very, very simple mindset that says the world is next to me, but it's not a part of me. The world is something that when I can gain from it, I'll go to it. And if it's something that, I'm excited for, then I'll go. And if it's something that I feel that it's, going to give me something, then I'll go. But when I go to the world, it's only because I decided that I need it. But the world as a world is next to me. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. The world was given to everyone, not to me. And therefore, the world should deal with their problems. It's a very practical mindset. I need to take care of my world. And I cannot bother thinking that the world externally is part of me. It's not. Here are my hands, here are my legs. They're my world. And there's the world. And I am not the world. There's a world and there's me. When I need them to meet, they'll meet. But when I don't need them to meet, they won't meet. And so the mindset of Gava, according to Rav Kook, is that the world is not a part of you. You are not responsible for the world. You are not at fault. Baruch Hashem, I've had the zchut to be in education. And one of the experiences that I have often is that we sit around and we could blame everyone. We blame the students. We blame the phones. We blame social media. We have a lot of things that we say it's the fault. But then you say to yourself, 1 minute. If I'm in this world, and that is what the world is going on, what's going on in the world. So someone with Gava will say, well, it's their fault. But if it's your world, then everything happening in the world is stemming from you. And if we take it now into the timing that we're in, into the corona time, and we look around and we say, listen, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, what could I do? And then you look at what's going on today in Zoom, in Facebook, in YouTube, shiurim, concerts, virtual zoo experiences, classes, children plays, puppets. You're like, why? Just take care of your own world. But that's exactly what Gava does. Gava says to a person, let the world be there. Let the doctors take care of the medicine, let the lawyers take care of the law, let the teachers take care of the religion, let the rabbis take care of their shuls, let the parents take care of their kids. Let's separate. And that is the mindset. The mindset of the world is next to me. And what happens when a person feels that nothing is my fault, nothing is my responsibility? Suddenly the next step is apathy. That what happens once you're not at fault is you don't feel. You're apathetic. Okay, so another 600 people died in Italy. Okay, I'm apathetic. It's not my fault. I don't need to hurt for it. I don't need to cry for it. I didn't make the corona. I don't need to be in pain from it. It is what it is. I'm apathetic. And from the apathy, the next thing that happens is that people are going to get angry. People are going to say to you, but look, the world is falling apart. The next thing, once things aren't your fault and you become apathetic, is that the next step is that you start becoming a person who uses excuses. Someone comes to you and says, but how could you be so ignorant? How could you not care? How could you not sit down with the poor people? So it's like, listen, I didn't sleep well last night. Sorry. And then people are like, oh, but listen, like, this is happening. We use excuses. Why? Because it's not me. It's not mine. It doesn't belong to me. It's not under my authority. The world is not mine. And so I'll just take care of my world. And I'm using excuses. The result of excuses is that you become passive. And passive is a result of Gava. The moment that the world is next to me, and it's not under my authority, and it's not something that I'm involved in, and it's not something that I care about, the next step is that nothing is my fault. And after that, I become apathetic because it's not my fault. And if someone gets upset at me that I'm apathetic, then I use excuses because I don't want to get involved. I don't want to affect. I don't want to be active. I just want to do what's simple. And once that's the mindset, you become passive. And the result of that is a world of laziness. And so says Rav Kook in such a beautiful way, Gava is not you in comparison to others. It's you and your mindset of the world. How do you perceive the world? We know that there's a famous song that a lot of people love singing. It's called, "We are the world, make it a better place." But another option is to say, I am for the world. That the most beautiful thing for me is to feel that I'm a part of the world. That the world is everything in my hands. I can't change everything, but I could care. I can't affect everything, but I could cry. I can't transform reality, but I could be aware. And that is what Gava doesn't do. Gava is chametz. And chametz is the presentation of Egypt and of Paro. And they're the symbol of Gava. Paro said a very simple sentence. Li ye'ori, ani asitini. There's a lot of ani in that sentence. Paro was nervous about one thing and one thing only. That he is the center. That he is everything. He had a lot of people that worked with witchcraft. And all of the people, when they would do their witchcraft, they would do it in front of Moshe and Aaron. They had to show and belittle because they needed to be the center. They needed them to be involved, so immersed in themselves. That's Gava. Gava is that everything is about gain. Today you live in a world that if someone, is giving tzedakah, you're like, well, like, does he really care for me? Does he not care for me? And a lot of us grew up on the story of Moshe Aganev, if you remember it. And there was an idea where everyone thought he was a bad person, but he would put money at the doorsteps. And no one knew about it for his whole entire life. Very few people in our world today that we could say that live in a world that gives because they feel like the beauty of the world is their beauty. That when they see the growth of another, they feel that they grew. There's a beautiful thing from the Yehudi Kadosh, one of the Hasidic masters. He says, how do you know if a Jew is a real Jew? And he says the answer is that you know a Jew is a real Jew when they're happy that there's another. We get so proud of our progress. But that is Gava. When we walk around and we need to all be involved in how much, what's going on in my world and where am I? And when the idea of Gava is exactly that type of world. It's insular. I'm all inside. Everything is about gain. Everything is about what did I get from it? What did someone give me, and give me? That's Paro. He'll take an entire world and give me. What's the chametz? Once it rose, there's no room. It doesn't have room for the world. It blew up. It's all full of its ingredients. But there's no space. There's no room. There's no one else that could get involved. And that is the world of the Russia that we spoke about before. The world of the Russia is that there's so much potential, but he closes it. And that's the Ra. That the shin is inside. The shin is inside, and what the Russia is saying is I look only at my world. I walk around with mirrors all day, and I see myself. Why don't you walk around with glasses and start seeing something else? One of my great friends, Noam Abder, from Othniel, was killed in 2000 2002, December 27th. He used to work in with children that were all handicapped. And on the middle of the Shabbat, in one of the Shabbatons, they came over to Noam and they said to him, Noam, I'm really upset. So Noam said, why are you so upset? So there's no mirrors. So Noam looked at the kids and he said, we don't look at ourselves here. The world of Gava is that you have mirrors all the time. You go to work to look at yourself. You go to shul to feel good about yourself. It's all insular. There's nothing else going on. I'm getting degrees, but it's really, there's no vision of anything or anyone else. And that's where we open up the world of Anava. Says Rav Kook that the word Hineni is the definition of Anava. What does it mean that Hineni is the definition of Anava? Hineni is, I'm excited to act. When Moshe Rabbeinu says to Hashem Hineni, he doesn't even know what's the point. He doesn't even know if he's going to get a salary or pride or a position. But he says, I am, in definition, excited for others. I'm excited to give. I'm excited to care. I'm excited to be involved. I'm excited to affect. I'm excited to be a matzah. I'm excited that my ingredients can be so not blown up for myself, that I have room for everyone and everything. And in my davening, I could daven for China and Italy and England and Spain. And that there's never a feeling of I'm burnt out. A lot of us, like we learn a little bit and we're like, I'm burnt out. You're right. You are burnt out, but we're not. And the definition of Anafa is that it's not about you. Okay, you will get burnt out. But when you look around and you feel like there's us, then the fire never ends. And that is Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu kept an Egyptian name. It's so embarrassing. Really, like Moshe, Bat Paro gave you a name. You couldn't change it. Call yourself, I don't know, Moshiach, right? Call yourself Isaiah. You keep the name of Bat Paro. But that's exactly what Moshe wanted. He wanted to love the world. He wanted to love Egypt. We have an Isur Deoraita to do anything to harm an Egyptian, even though of what they did for us. We have a mitzvah in our Torah to be involved in everything and everyone and everywhere. And the idea of Moshe is that he wants the waters that killed the Jewish people to be his essence forever. Kimina mayim mishitiu, he doesn't forget those waters. And when he has to hit those waters, he doesn't forget. And he doesn't hit the water. He remembers the fact that the waters saved him. He remembers that he is not willing to start his life in a zone where it's his world. He remembers that the mayim is his definition. The mayim that he was born into is his essence. And that he's willing to keep an Egyptian name because he doesn't care about his own personal. He cares about his ability to portray and to affect and to evolve and to care and to combine and to bring more people into the story. And so, to summarize the journey of the Shir, we started off with Mishabeach Lacholim, and Bezat Hashem we want to end off with really davening for all the Cholim. We started off with the parak of Tehillim, knowing that the mindset of ours needs to be not sadness, but awareness. A lot of people think awareness is sadness, but awareness makes us grow. It makes us expand. It makes us excited. And I davka think that specifically in this time, where we're all sitting in an insular world, it's scary how we could really very fast enter into the chametz world. That we're all scared of each other because we might get sick from another person and we can't give anyone anything because it touched our hands and it's going to touch their hands. And we're really, really like being moved away from society, We're being moved away from community, and we're walking into a Pesach where we have to really, really deeply understand the message of chametz and matzah. That the message of chametz is that you look at the world that you live in and you view it inwards. And everything is for your use. And everyone is for your benefit. But maybe the goal of this Pesach is that each of us become a matzah and realize how many people need us. How many of us realize that there's so many people that we can call. There's so many people that we're worried about. There's so many people that we're davening for. There's so many people that really, just to get a message from us, it would be the greatest privilege in the world. And maybe that is the definition of Judaism. That walking into a holiday that's giving us chametz and matzah, it's saying, I don't want you to think that the external additions are going to change you. We lost all the external additions. So many of us are nervous about our jobs. So many of us are nervous about our loved ones. So many of us are nervous about so many things. All the external is being shaved away. And there's one thing left. What is your core? What's your core? Is your core that you're going into your home because you need to benefit yourself, or you need to go into your home so you could have the privilege to give and to affect? And my bracha to all of us, that Be'ezrat Hashem, walking into a very different type of Pesach, in a very different type of world, where things are very unknown and things are very, very new, that we get to learn to look differently at the definition of anava and gava. That we stop asking the question of benefit, because benefit makes us at the end of the day become lazy. And the feeling of effect makes us active and involved. And that is the definition of the Moshiach. Moshe Rabbeinu was always, always, always involved. If it was in the river, if it was Bnot Midian, if it was the Ro'ei Tzon, even when he was in a world where he was thrown out, he looked not to where will he gain, but where will he give. And that's the question we need to be asking when we're looking at our matzah this year. Not what can we gain from the world now, but what can we give? We're walking into a world that we're going to see a lot of new things, a lot of new realities. Things that are going to, for years to come, are going to be a result of this period of time. And we could keep asking the gain question, filling ourselves, filling our worlds. But we'll end up like chametz. The karet isn't a punishment. It's a reality. You're so insular that you're karet. But matzah is that there's always yearning. And like we saw with the chacham, he was yearning. He used the same etchem, but it was yearning. He wanted to see more. He wanted to do more. And the greatest thing about reaching a mountain is that you get to see the next. That's anava. Anava is not that you're not on a mountain. You are. We're amazing. We're doing amazing things. But our amazing accomplishments give us the privilege to even do more, to affect more. And that should give us strength, should give us koach, should give us excitement, it should give us simcha. It should give us a really exciting way of asking ourselves new questions of where can we affect the world, how can we affect the world, when can we affect the world, and realize the most beautiful thing about ourselves is that the world, kol ha'olam lo nivra ela bishvili, it doesn't mean for me, it means through me. Through me, the world can, will change. And that's a beautiful way of having anava, that I can do things, that I'm capable. Hineni, I can do something new and I can do something different. And yes, there are things that won't be simple, but since when is simple the right way? The right way is that even though things might not always work at our fingertips, we could be creative, we could be excited, and we could try. In the world of Gava, you need to succeed because it's about you. We don't need to succeed. We just need to try. Yeh ratzon שנזכה כולנו ליהנות מהעולם הזה ולהפוך אותו לעולם הבא.